Hello everyone, and welcome to another One Punch Man The Strongest video. Today we are doing episode 7 of our basic series, Account Review. And over here we have Vector from Server 7. So Vector is actually a rank 1 in terms of power, and also rank 1 in terms of arena. Okay, so this is his current lineup for arena itself. For the first pick, Watchdog, most of the players right now, I would say they'll put their important units on the front row. So before the Juro passive is up, the Watchdog will go ahead and swipe off the front row unit itself. Then from there, because his RMG is P5, then it will produce one follow-up. So most likely by this time, most of the units on the front row will be dead because of his SAC count. Then from there, RMG will take out one unit from the opponent. So most likely it will be either Tank Top or Juro. Even if it is RMG is also okay. However, for the second speed, I'll actually recommend Genos instead of the RMG. Reason being, for Genos, it will actually use AoE to clear out all the units on the field itself. Then from there, your RMG will follow up onto them. Then afterwards, your RMG will actually take up a non-undying unit right now. So your opponents will actually lose units faster than you. Another thing that I feel is quite important to point out is that for Vector, he was actually running these 6 units for his arena team previously. So I feel that these 6 units would be more suitable for the meta in general. However, because for this comp to work, right, the Goketsu needs to actually go tank. However, inside the monster peak, Goketsu is going damage. So in this case, he will have to swap his gears around a lot of times. So I believe he would like to have more convenience. So instead, he took out his Goketsu from the main team. He put in the Watchdog. Then from there, the tank top resources went into the Watchdog, and the alloy took over the tank top role in the sense that it helps to protect the RMG and also Juro. Basically, for Black Knight itself, the person on the right, he has 1000 SAC inside his team. Then for Vector, he has 2000 SAC inside his team. So you can actually take a look that although the difference is actually 1000 SAC, however, Black Knight was still able to somewhat hold on against Vector's team. So if let's say it's a 2k SAC vs a 2k SAC, then it might be quite troublesome already. So his win condition is basically his Watchdog going first speed, and before the tank top even out, the Watchdog swipe off the front row and the RMG follows up to kill off the tank top itself. If let's say the tank top is not dead on the first turn, then it can be very troublesome already. Yeah, so I would say it's not very good for Cloud War, but in terms of convenience wise, you don't have to keep swapping the gears between the Goketsu. So it's quite okay as long as the building don't fall, then I feel it's quite okay already. Next, we will be looking at his Cloud War lineup. So for his Cloud War lineup, I would say is still quite okay. Although his resources are split among 2 teams itself, however, as of now, the opponents are not able to take out his building. So as long as the building don't fall, then the opponent is not able to get past. So it's pretty good already. So next we'll be going over his pick arena. So for pick arena, I would say generally you can go for a very fast Watchdog to seal off the opponent's energy. So if let's say they do not have energy, then it's very difficult for them to do any damage to you. Then for a slightly slower speed Genos itself, because currently you have the Silver Fang itself. So generally you actually want to let the opponents come to you. And from there you can actually build a lot of these HP and also damage onto the generals itself. So after the opponent is done with their attack, you use a second speed generals to blast every one. Then afterwards you use a third speed zombie, titan as close to the generals as possible to heal up the team. I'll say generally is quite a good team already lah. As of now, I believe this one is actually the best you can come up with. Then next we'll be going over his monster team. So for monster team, generally you actually want, because your RMG is P5 already, so generally you want to have a first speed Goribus because it actually has a passive over here. So once the Goribus attacks, right, and it corrodes onto the opponent, your RMG and your team has actually increased attack. So from there, the second speed will be Goketsu that is Titan as close to the Goribus as possible. So from there, the damage Goketsu will pretty much wipe out everyone. Then on top of that, after your Goribus attack, RMG will follow up. Then after your Goketsu attacks, the RMG will follow up again. So by this time, I'll say most of the units are already dead already. If let's say it's not dead, then you can either run a third speed RMG or a third speed Phoenix. So it will actually use up the third speed ulti for your team itself. Then from there, the fourth speed will most likely go onto the Cyclops itself. So once the Cyclops was to use auto attack, then RMG will follow up 2 times. So by this time, on the first turn itself, I would say most of the players will be wiped out already. Next, we'll be going over his Apex. So for his Apex, he's actually doing pretty well. So as of now, he's rank 3. And also these are his current lineup. So Team 1, Team 2 and Team 3. I'm pretty sure he has his own logic. However, as of right now, I would say for Team 1 itself, you definitely want to have Joro, Watchdog and Genos on one team. Because Watchdog scales off max HP and also Genos scales off max HP. Then for Team 2, generally you want to have Zombie, Garo and another AoE attacker to proc off the Garo internal injury. So for this one is because he's using the Goketsu over here. So first speed, Goribus will increase the attack for the whole team. Then second speed movement will increase the speed of the Goketsu. Then most likely this CE will go ahead and ulti to give the Goketsu berserk itself. And from there the Goketsu just kills everyone in one turn. So this one I would say is still quite okay but once the ATT arrive, then from there you can actually put in the ATT first speed, then with a vaccine man. So essentially your team 3 is already complete. Then from there your Garo pair with your Goketsu. So your Garo will go speed 1, then your Goketsu will go speed 2 to proc the internal injury and also to kill everyone with its ult. Then for this RMG itself, this one can either be on Team 1, Team 2 or Team 3 depending on which team is losing. Then generally Team 1 you want to have Joro, Watchdog and Genos on your Team 1. Next we will be looking at his basics. So we'll start from the left, starting with the home training itself. So for home training, he is doing pretty well. He has been maxing out all his skill training and battle training, so it's pretty okay. Then for his cores wise, he's pretty much using the meta core. Then for Joro itself, this one, it's because he don't have any other good core itself, so that's why he put on the Joro core. And also currently running Watchdog, the raw attack will actually help him. So this one is okay. Then for the figurines, he has been putting in effort to max it up, so it's pretty good. Also, another thing that I noticed is that you actually have quite a number of schedules open. So your schedules management is actually very important. In the case over here, you actually have one level 6 Chaos and one level 6 Bastion on CK. For this Bastion and Chaos, generally I would suggest to put it on your DPS. So for hero side, the DPS will be Garo, Genos, and also Watchdog. However, for Genos and Watchdog, these two will run Vitality CQ. Then for Garo, you might want to put on the Chaos and the Bastion on him instead for Goketsu as well, because it's a main DPS of your monster pick arena. So I think it will be better if you put on the Bastion and Chaos onto him. Although the Vitality actually gives more attack, however, if you actually take a look, the Vitality only gives you about 100k HP. So in this case, if you were to put on your level 6 Chaos onto him, if let's say an opponent were to hit you for 3 million per hit itself, the reduction will be about 540,000 damage reduction already, which will be a lot better than 100,000 HP boost lah. So in this case, since your Goketsu is alive for longer, then it can help to dish out more damage. The same thing will go for Garo. So generally the ones with the Chaos and Bastion should be RMG, Garo, Goketsu. Then the ones with Vitality will be Genos and Watchdog. So the rest of the units, I would say, are just there to support the whole team. So actually don't have to give them very high level CQ. Okay, so generally this is how you want to allocate your talent CQ. So your first priority will be give all the best CQ onto Genos, then RMG, Watchdog, Garo, and Goketsu. So Genos, RMG, and Watchdog, I would say they are on about the same level of importance. Then followed by Garo and Goketsu, then followed by the rest of your other characters. For Genos, RMG, and Watchdog, this one is because they are inside your main arena and also Club War team. So you definitely want to give them the best CQs that you can. Then the second priority will be Garo and Goketsu because they are the main DPS for your monster and hero pick arena. Then for the rest of the units, it's good to have because they are still inside your arena and Club War team. However, they are more of a support character. So actually, if let's say you want to reverse out the SAC, is also no issue. So this is Vector's current SAC count. He has 4192 SAC in his account. So generally, I would say it's pretty well done in the sense that his highest SAC is Genos, followed by RMG. Then for Goketsu, he is using it for his monster pick, so he will actually need to raise his Goketsu damage up. Then on top of that, the Watchdog is currently sitting at 433 SAC right now, which is not very okay. So in this case, he might actually need to wait for the next rate up for the SAC itself. If let's say he wants to raise his Watchdog as soon as possible, the ones in orange is actually the SAC that he can take it out from. So for CK, because it won't really be used in a monster pick anymore, so can consider to reverse the SAC itself. However, I would say his level and faction buff card is pretty good, so in this case he is only able to take out his type card SACs. Then for this alloy, I believe why he put in so much SAC is because the gears are from his characters previously. So in this case, I will still suggest him to raise the talents. If let's say he wants to use the alloy and raise the talent 3 HP nodes for the alloy to make it more tanky. Yeah, then he can save up on quite a number of SAC. As you can see over here, he has 6 stars SAC on 4 of his gears. So that will actually be about 200 plus or 300 or so SAC right there. one is something to consider. If let's say you want to raise the HP for your watchdog as soon as possible. If not, then it's okay to just wait for the rate up. Okay, something worth mentioning is that for your buff gears itself, your watchdog is actually running an attack stat speed gear with 3 speed line, so this one is not very okay. However, I will not suggest you to wash a HP triple speed line already lah. Instead, actually I will suggest you to swap it with the one on Silver Fang. So although the speed is lower and it will actually affect your win condition of your watchdog being faster than opponent's tank top. However, because for our server cluster itself, I would say most of the players are not that advanced. So generally, if you go a slower watchdog, I believe you can still get away with it. And on top of that, your watchdog will actually do a lot more damage than what it's doing currently. For this RMG buff card over here, because your Goketsu right now is purely on peak arena already, so you might actually want to consider raising the speed to tighten as close to the Koribas as possible. So basically after the Koribas were to out, it will give an attack buff from the passive over here. Then your Goketsu second speed will straight away kill off the opponents, so which will make your team very difficult to win against. Then you can actually swap the Goketsu buff card with the RMG buff card over here. And on top of that, because of your RMG having more attack, then it can do more follow-up to kill off the opponents. Then for the ones in greens are basically the ones that you can swap around. So for Genos itself, currently right now is not very fast. I believe just now when I saw it's around 500 plus speed. So in this case, you can actually swap it with the watchdog speed gear. So essentially, Genos will be speed 1, watchdog will be speed 2, RMG will be speed 3. And also for RMG speed and this Goketsu attack card, you can actually consider swapping around. Because ideally you want your RMG to be at a slower speed with higher attack, and your Goketsu you want it to be at a faster speed with a slightly lower attack is still okay. As long as you are able to clear off the opponents with the Koribas attack buff itself, then it will be pretty okay already. Then for watchdog itself, this one also can consider swapping with the Silver Fang buff card. Reason being, for your watchdog itself, you actually want to have all HP buff cards. For this triple speed line, you can actually put it on Silver Fang for now. Then once the Armine is to release, then you can just give it to the Armine instead. I would say his SAC allocation is pretty on point already. So whatever damage dealer, so Genos, RMG, Goketsu and Garo is holding most of the SAC itself. Then for his support units generally is at a lower SAC count. However, because he's using his watchdog as a damage dealer, so I will actually suggest him to raise his watchdog to be on par with the rest of his DPS units. Okay, so this will be your BT allocation itself. So basically you draw everything. Yeah, then on top of that, if let's say you don't get the LSSR on the 180 itself, you can actually consider going a little bit more to get one LSSR from the draw itself, then one LSSR from the 180. Yeah, then generally I would say draw everything except this one. For this character, I still do not have much info on it. So in this case, I will actually update once the character is soon to be released. But generally, I would say just draw everything. And also for the teams itself, once the ATT releases, you can actually just raise it for the time being. Then once it's raised to 5 star already, then from there you can replace the Phoenix with the ATT for the Esper spot. And for Drive Knight itself, also after you draw, try to hold it first. You don't want a scenario for this watchdog itself whereby you draw already straight away put in. then in this case it will actually affect your current team's strength itself. Also for alloy, once the armor is out, this one you can straight away change the speed on and then straight away put it in. This one is no issue. So for your bomb core, it will look something like this. So you have your bomb, drive knight, or these channels. Because for drive knight, once it releases, the strength won't really be up to mark yet. So you can actually consider just using the channels for now. Then for ATT, this one is released in August lah. So by the time the bomb arrives, the ATT will be good enough. Then for these trolls itself, this one you can actually raise when the armor is out. So I believe the trolls will release somewhere around September to October period. So if let's say it releases on September, then good. You actually have time to raise the character up. If not, then just use Omni on it. Then try to put it up as soon as the bomb arrives. Then for armor, it's no issue because you don't need the shards for it. Then for this duelist spot, as of now, you can just use the metal bat or the flashy flash. And also another thing to note is that for this drive knight itself and the trolls, it will most likely release around the same time. So between these trolls and drive knight, I will actually suggest to raise the trolls first. Then afterwards, you can spend the remaining time to raise the drive knight. And from there, replace the channels with the drive knight. Then for Suryu is actually to be confirmed because as of now I don't have much info on it. Then Sonic, pretty much it will take up the duelist spot, so it's no issue. Then for Awakened Vaccine, this one also to be confirmed. Yeah, because I'm not too sure on whether it's strong enough to replace the trolls. Then for Galewind, basically once you draw Galewind, you can straight away take off the Armine, then just have the Sonic as your speed raiser. Then from there, the Sonic will raise the speed of both the ATT and also the Galewind. So the Galewind will stun, the ATT will put on the field effect. And from there, the opponents will most likely be killed on either the first turn or second turn. Then for Hellfire, it's also to be confirmed. So to sum up, basically what you want to do is draw for all the black ticket characters, then only use the reruns for any remaining this LSSR shard or purple shard to make them into purple 5 or 5 star. Then for extreme training, focus on the extreme training for the characters that is released that month. Then from there, try not to use the conversion. I mean to say converting the normal shard into the purple shard. But if let's say really no choice, then we'll have to convert some. And for this 6 star itself, this one I actually don't really recommend. Generally you want to 5 star all the characters that you draw. So this will be his arena or war team. So he will have Genos, Watchdog, RMG as the main DPS, then Phoenix, Joro, Alloy as the supporting units. For this one, I would say he definitely rushed into replacing the Watchdog. Maybe it would be better if he had hold off on reversing the tank top and putting the Watchdog in at a later time. However, since it's done already, then it's okay. We just keep on raising the Watchdog HP itself to prepare for the SSR Amai release. Then for monster pick, generally I would suggest Goribas, Koketsu, Phoenix, RMG, Joro, and one of these 3. So the first speed will be Goribas to put on the attack buff, then the Koketsu second speed to clear off the opponents. Third speed Phoenix, kill off the backlines itself, then in the meantime the RMG will keep on following up on the opponents itself. Then the Joro will most likely use the auto attack to proc the RMG follow up for 2 times. For hero pick, it will be very fast Watchdog to seal off the energy of the opponents, then a slightly slower Genos to blast all the opponents. Then on top of that, because your shield is done by Silver Fang, so generally I would say you have to wait for the opponents to come to you first, then from there you have the energy to do a counter attack. So in this case, I'll actually suggest you to keep 4 energy for this Genos Plus and also this Zombie Ulti to heal up your units itself. Then for Apex team, as of now, you're already using the best that you can. However, once the ATT were to release next month, you ideally want to have Joro, Genos, Watchdog on one team. Then have a Zombie, Garo, Goketsu on the second team. Then RNG you can choose between Team 1 or Team 2, it's up to you. Then Team 3 will be ATT and either a vaccine or a Chose, depending on whether or not it has been released yet. Then in the future, this one will be under your bomb core. So as of now, your Genos has 5.7 million HP. So in order to prepare for the SSR armor itself, my recommendation is to hold off on raising the Genos any further. Then from there, you just start to work your way up to this 8.14 million HP Watchdog itself. Then for your sigil wise, I noticed that the sigils are not very in place. So I'll actually suggest you to take some time to actually remove out all the talent sigils itself. Then from there, you put it in this order. So number 1, the highest level sigils will go into Genos. The second will go into RMG. The third will be Watchdog. Then followed by either Garo or Koketsu. This one is up to you. Then followed by Phoenix, Joro, and Boros. This one you will have to take some time to adjust a little bit. So overall, I would say that it is a pretty well managed account, and on top of that, because of the recharge that you do, actually a very strong account already. Then for Peak Arena, Apex, Club War, all this is all pretty on point. For the Apex, no choice, you have to wait for the ATT to release before you are able to have the 3 main teams. However, as of now, you can just leave it be. Anyway, the ATT will release next month already. So this one, you don't really have to worry about it. That's all I have for today. If let's say you enjoyed the video, please like and also subscribe to the channel. With that, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Goodbye.